On the morning of August 10th, I was attending day camp at the North Valley Jewish Community Center, and I had just finished a game of Capture the Flag with all my friends, and we were walking to our next activity, and the next thing I know, somebody walked in with a gun, and he fired off 70 rounds in less than a minute. 2 of them hit me, one pierced through my left leg, and the other one lodged in my left hip, and I just kind of blacked out for a second, and the next thing I remember is getting up off the ground, and I just ran for my life as fast as I could. And then once I got outside, somebody realized that something was wrong with me. And they realized that there was blood gushing out of my leg, and so they stopped me, and somebody came along, picked me up, and carried me to some place that was a little bit safer. And that's where I waited for the ambulance to come. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't realize he was holding a gun at his hip. And so from what it looked like to me, it was like a power drill. So I thought he was a construction worker, and that was like the last thing I remember before getting up from the ground. There's 2 other people aside from myself under the age of 6 who were shot. There's a camp counselor at the age of 16 who was shot, and then there was the receptionist, and she was shot as well. And then later that day, the same gunman shot and killed a mailman in Chatsworth.
It was a hate crime.
It was a hate crime. The man who shot me was a known neo-Nazi. He was a known domestic abuser, and he was still able to purchase firearms, and he shot all these kids in what he claimed to be a wake-up call to America to kill Jews. I didn't really know how to feel or what to do, because it was something that you're not really, a lot of people don't understand it, and nobody had really gone through it. And it wasn't until later that I started to realize why I was targeted and how I should kind of feel about something like that.
Now you think about this, how do you feel about it?
Part of me is really grateful to see where I've come from all of this. I've turned a tragedy into an opportunity, and I've gotten to do a lot of really great things and meet a lot of very cool people, and hopefully try and make a difference. So part of me, was really proud and happy for all of that, but the other part of me just curses the day that I got shot, because it changed my life in a not so great way, and it led to a lot of issues in my life, and a lot of issues that continue going on in my life.
Could you give us some examples?
It just comes down to everyday things that people take for granted. Walking alone when I leave classes at night, anything like that terrifies me, and it's just this feeling of no matter where you are, you're not safe. And that's an awful feeling that I can't describe to anyone, and it's a feeling that just overwhelms you and consumes you, and it can really take control of your life. And it's something that it's been really hard to deal with, and something that I really I hate. I wish I could get away from it, but I can't.
What are the things that would trigger you?
Back then, sirens, helicopters, any loud noises, any sudden movements. It took a a lot of work for everyone to understand that if I had a panic attack, I went around the house, I locked every door and every window, and nobody was going in or out. I had a very tough time trusting people. I still do. And it's really, I try as hard as I can to be positive and to find the best in people, but there's always part of me that thinks that, somebody's out to get me.
Mm.
And so I'm always alert and I'm always on edge, and it was really, it made me very selective when it came to my friends, because I had to know and trust and understand that they would be there for me if I had an anxiety attack, and they would not intentionally do things to trigger my anxiety, and they would be understanding when I say I can't do it.
Have you seen guns before?
When I was 6, I wasn't really into guns. Obviously, kids had like Nerf guns and stuff like that, but I was never really brought up with it. I didn't play video games, so I didn't have the violent video games. I didn't really watch TV and movies too much, and if I did, it wasn't usually anything violent. So I was really, not very aware of the gun culture that we had. And
What's your attitude to guns now?
I have nothing against guns. I just want people to be responsible. It's the same thing with driving a car.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get licensed to do it, and the license says that you've practiced handling this piece of equipment. You know how to use it. You know how to operate it safely. And, that should be the same way with firearms. There's been a large number of children who have shot their friends because they grabbed their parents' gun and accidentally fired it. I just want people to know that everyone walks around with the mentality that this will never happen to them. And I had that same mentality. And here I am 15 years later struggling with so many aspects of my life because of it. So instead of sitting around and waiting for it to happen to you, I urge and I beg people to go out and to do something and to get involved and to take part in this national discussion about guns and gun violence. Because I don't want to see anybody have to go through what I went through. And I don't ever want to have to hear another story about kids who aren't going to come home from school that day.